Okay, so let's kick things off. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel, Manufacturing and the Energy Transition. We're looking forward to an exciting conversation from today's panelists. My name is Paula, and I will support in the background of this panel session. And before we start off, just some housekeeping. We please ask that all participants turn off their cameras and microphones during the main panel session, and you're welcome to use the chat functionality to share your views and ask questions, and there will be a lot of time in the second half of the panel for questions, whichever mode you feel comfortable. And with that said, I'm happy to introduce you to our moderator for this panel, CGI's Peter Warren, Vice President and Global Lead for Energy and Utilities. So over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you for keeping us on schedule and tactics here. I really appreciate it. As Paula mentioned, I'm the Global Lead for Energy and Utilities in CGI from a strategy standpoint, working with our different business units around the world. Definitely in the oil and gas area, utilities, both gas, electric, and water. And we do quite a bit of work in those different areas, and we can do energy trading and market services. First off, I'd like to sort of kick off by getting some introductions from our honored guests. Stefan, would you like to go first?
Thank you very much, Peter. Yes, my name is Stefan Savonen. I'm the Senior Vice President for Energy and Climate within LKAB. And I think I would like to start to briefly introduce LKAB for you, because I don't believe everybody knows it, even if it's really famous. LKAB is Europe's largest iron ore mining company with a history of more than 130 years. We produce 80% of all iron ore produced in Europe and are owned by the Swedish state. Our main product is iron ore pellets. It's small spherical balls like this, and that is used in the steel industry to make steel. But we also have more than 30 industrial minerals in our portfolio. We are in Europe, and our mines are located in Sweden, in the northernmost part of Sweden, in Kiruna, Malmberget, and Svappavaara. And we have today the world's two largest underground mines for iron ore at a depth of more than 1,200 meters. In connection with our mines, we also have the processing plants where we produce our iron ore pellets. In recent years, we have done extensive exploration, and we have secured resources for our operations until after 2060. And this means that we now need to ensure how we best use that asset without contributing to climate change. So to meet today's and tomorrow's expectations, we need to restructure our business. And we have identified three major areas for change. The first area is the mining operation. That we need to change so that it will become more efficient in operation than today. It will be fully digitalized, it will be fossil-free and autonomous. At the same time, as we go deeper and deeper in the mountain, down to 2,000 meters. So this is a really interesting challenge, but we are really convinced also that we will manage this. The second area is to take advantage of more minerals from the material that we pick up from that level and from our mines. So we have identified that we can become better at extracting minerals from our current waste streams, and have taken the first decisions actually to be able to produce phosphor or mineral fertilizers corresponding to 5 times Sweden's need. Also, rare earth elements will be a product with a capacity that can correspond up to 30% of today's imports to European Union. So this is a really, really interesting area for us that has now started. The third area is to gradually take another step in the iron and steel value chain, where we have our main business from the beginning. And that will be we do with the production of fossil-free sponge iron for the steel industry by using the hybrid technology. The hybrid technology is a technology that we have developed together with SSAB and Vattenfall in a joint venture. With that technology, we will use fossil-free hydrogen instead of coal or natural gas in the reduction process. The reduction process is needed to make iron for steel making from iron ore. So, by reducing the iron ore ourselves, we will be able to reduce the carbon dioxide footprint from our value chain by up to 50 million tons yearly in 2050. And the change we now have started means that our need of fossil-free electricity will increase sharply because we are going to use hydrogen produced with fossil-free steel. And that hydrogen will then replace coal and oil that is today used to do that. A fully developed system in 2050 will result in that we need around 70 terawatt hours of electricity to make that fossil-free hydrogen. And that is an amount of around 1.3 million tons hydrogen that is needed for the process. If you look at the electricity the level we are talking about, it's about double the amount that Denmark as a country uses today. The first step in our transition is the hybrid demonstration plant, and that will be up and running in, say, 2026 is what we aim for, and we are still very focused on that and believe that we will get that. So this is just around the corner. So we really need to act now, and we have acted already a long time for this. But it can look like it's far away in time to 2050, but every step takes time. So we really need to come and get going, so to say. So, and then you see all the challenges. It's easy that you only see challenges, but they are there just to get us to actually take care of those. And we know that we will overcome them so to succeed with the transition, because we don't see that there is actually any choice. It's not only for us, it's for the whole industry. And the most critical for us today is the permitting processes. They take a long time, and it's really a risk to slowing down the pace of change. Then we have the access to electricity for the hydrogen production, and that needs to be secured. And that is also something that we really work hard with to guarantee the supply of electricity. The mining operation, as I mentioned, it will take place in greater depths. And that entails great challenges with regard to rock stability and efficiency and so on. And then, of course, everything comes with a price. It has to be financed in some way. And also, we will need the competence that can work with these new processes, both in our mine, in the beneficiation and process plants, and hydrogen production plants. So this is challenges we must deal with. And here I believe that we are not facing them alone. The whole industry is facing those. Thank you. I think I pass on to Michael to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Stefan. My name is Michael Nilsson. I work as a product manager at Lulea University of Technology. And my perspective in this panel is actually then from my position here at the university. I'll tell you a little bit what we do, how we do, and how we actually support the industry in the region, and not to mention the whole of Sweden. And we have a very energy and resource efficient thinking since that is the topic of today in all what we do. But firstly, some words about our university. It's the northernmost university in Sweden, actually, and it connects very well to Stefan's company. It's actually the mining and ore university in Sweden. You have a lot of knowledge in this area. But it's not only about that. We're also in the space area and, in my case, applied artificial intelligence. But we have a focus on renewable energy, which is part of the topic today. whatever we do, my job is actually to create projects and finding the money to bring an idea from just an idea to an actual result and an applied result out there. And this is also the reason why industry like to work with us and appreciate what we do, that we are and using a very much applied research approach to everything. So I think we have been working a lot with LKAB and other big companies and small companies in the region. And as all of you know, in this part of the world, in the academic world, you cannot win a project without not mention how you will solve the sustainability issues, the energy efficiency, the resource efficiency. There will not be a project funded if you don't address that. The Agenda 2030 is quite crucial and in focus in whatever we do. So that's a little bit about university. Myself, I work at a center called Center for Distance Spanning Technology. And it tells you that this huge area in the north of Sweden, which is sparsely populated, the big challenge and the opportunity is to overcome distance. So almost 30 years ago, this center was established in the early days of mobile telephony. And if you didn't know that, in Lulea, around 1989, the world's first mobile phone, GSM mobile phone call in a lab was made in Lulea, 1989. The Finns claimed directly after that we did the first commercial phone call, so that's correct. Our neighbors did that. But the first phone call, GSM phone call, was made in Lulea by Telia at that time. So that's a little bit of a tradition here, the telecom sector. And this goes hand in hand with what we're talking about today, how to turn and develop the green transition, the energy efficiency, and it starts hand in hand with a lot of information, and to measure where you are and know where you are and where you're going, and to be able to tell the world the movement you did. So that is a lot about information technologies. What about myself then? My daily work today is about Applied AI Digital Innovation Hub North, which takes half of my time. I'm also involved in another energy-intensive branch called data centers, which is booming. 10 years ago, it's really boomed in this part of Sweden or this part of Europe. And we can learn a lot now. We are facing the hydrogen following that track, and we see the same question, the same challenges coming up, which we experienced 10 years ago. This means we can learn a lot. So cloud-based data centers is one of the projects ongoing. Hand in hand with this, we have the 5G development. So we are running one of the, I would say, most active and most advanced 5G test beds in Sweden using the innovation network here called Wireless Innovation Arena, where companies, small big ones, come here and test their devices and systems so they know it will work when 5G is rolling out. And this 5G, that is really what is attractive for companies like LKAB. Those who produce a lot of data, a lot of sensors that need to send this information super fast to a data center to analyze it using AI, whatever, and then send back the information quickly to run a process or control a process in real time. That is what 5G is built for, the process industry. On top of that, I'm also involved in smart cities, which is a lot about Internet of Things also. And lately, something called, this is what my favorite hobby right now, Center for Hydrogen Energy Systems Sweden, the latest established center at the LTU here, which focus on hydrogen. And why did we do this? This is to support the industry and the very fast-growing new energy carrier coming up in our region called hydrogen, which is not very much known so far, but it will be, this area will be probably the largest or the biggest area in the world who produce the most hydrogen that ever been seen in an area like this, in a, let's say, 5-10 year scenario. This will happen right in front of our eyes here. Just to conclude or finalize, my personal background is actually, I studied in the south of Sweden, Linköping University, in the mechanical engineering area. And then I started my work in the aerospace business, 13 years at Saab Aerospace. as an aircraft designer, so 340, 2000, Jar 39 Gripen fighter, and so on. Then I went north here to Lulea, where I'm actually born, and worked for a business development foundation at the university, using researchers, but developing projects within the industry. That took me also to Brussels, to the European Commission as the IT research director out there for some time. I learned a lot from the inside there about big projects, research project on the European arena. And back in Lulea again, I went into a spin-off called FNet at that time. It came at the same time as the IT bubble, so you can imagine what happened when IT bubble and spin-off didn't really work together. But so my period in the IT sector was quite short because of that. But the last 20 years, I've been spending my time at this Center for Distance Spanning Technology, focused on the ongoing digitalization and running projects like this that I described. So that is actually my background. That's all from me. Thanks.
So thanks, Michael, and thanks for creating memories for me, because I was a student at Luleå Technical University at 89, 1991. So Östen Mäkitalo is a friend of my father's also. So it's found very great memories. So 1991, let's start there. 30 years in the IT and in the industry in Sweden and globally. Right now, my role is Head of Manufacturing Scandinavia for CGI. I'm also honored to have a cross-industry role where I had innovation and transformation for Scandinavia. So that's said enough about me. I'm also based in where things happen, in the northernmost CGI office in Kiruna. So that's in itself, it is a pleasure to be just here. So let's go forward. Peter, you're muted. Nope, no sound. Let's try to disconnect and connect. Might work. This is a good example of Murphy's Law.
Of course, Murphy's always there.
It's always present. It will always surprise you.
We'll try that again. How am I now?
Now I can hear you.
When in doubt, reboot. Some things don't change.
Oh, that Murphy joined. So
well, thanks for that background. I think it's good to have context of where everybody's coming from. And one reason why this panel was put together is the fact that industry is going to need a lot of things from education and innovation from different components. And maybe go back to you, Stefan, and really talk about, see how you touched on this in your introduction, but manufacturing is going to change due to the drive to decarbonization. So how do you see the industry in general adapting to that?
I think the industry needs to adapt for changes. As I also said, that I don't think there is any choice. Then of course there is different options to adapt to the change, and I think that is different depending on where you are and what possibilities you have, depending on if you have like us the possibilities to use fossil-free electricity, then we can go this route and quite quickly. If you don't have, then you first need to find maybe a step in between before you can fully decarbonize. But the main thing is that it drives the decarbonization is here. If you are not on the train, you will be left when it leaves the station. It can go slower, but it's on the way. And I think that industry has really it has started. I could say when we started in 2016 with the hybrid project together with SSAB and Vattenfall for decarbonizing the steel industry, which amounts for approximately 10%, almost 10% of the 10% of the CO2 emissions in the world. There was a lot of skepticism. Can this actually be done? I mean, is it possible? Today, we see that there is a full activity around this from the steel industry, but also from others, going for hydrogen as the solution to the carbon dioxide emissions. So and it creates a momentum that grows for every month. We see how it grows. So we are on the right track, and I believe that even the laggers, there are always laggers. They are coming.
Okay, thank you for that. Michael, do you have anything to add to that?
We have seen changes. I mean, what I'm thinking of when you're talking, I mean, what we learned from the IT sector is don't underestimate the power of people's will to change. For example, I mentioned this data center industry that has been booming over the years, 10 years. With some of the big players there, they are very much aware about using green fossil-free energy for their services. And why is that? They understand that 1 billion users could just leave by a click if they don't try at least to be sustainable, to save the planet and all that, be energy efficient. And not all industries are aware about that, how easy it is to pick somebody else who you think you like more. Just a reflection.
Yeah, very much so. Robert, any thoughts on that as you deal with your clients?
But what you see with this change for let's say sustainable goal is that it has changed from, of course, sustainability is still there, but you also see that now it is a matter of resilience due to the things that's happening in the world. So how can you use carbon to be use it as a resilient energy force? Another aspect is, of course, when you see this is not a trip that you do by yourself. It is something that, for example, LKAB do with partners. You build ecosystems to create change. And that's quite unique if you look at other projects, even though they are big. It's not, you don't have a similar ecosystem buildup.
Yeah, I think that's a key component of it, and it was touched on there too a minute ago in the conversation that we all have the same goal of 2030. We all have the same, every industry in the world is driving towards the same goal, and from a mining standpoint, Stefan, there's not enough minerals coming out of the ground to build everything. From a Michael standpoint, there's not enough resources to put this together. So how do you see this changing the supply chain and moving things forward? So Michael, maybe start with you. How do you see just the whole physical supply chain changing, not only to use energy, but to fulfill the needs of creating more energy?
It's not an easy question to ask, but let me give you an example. What we have done at the university, we have created some new research areas to support what is happening. And one I already mentioned is this Center for Hydrogen and New Systems, where we look at the value chain from the production to the storage to the distribution to the usage of hydrogen, which is quite new in this region. We have been blessed with having the hydropower providing our electricity for many years. Now we're bringing this new component, which is unknown to many. So there is a lot about competence needed to even train and educate already skilled people, but haven't worked with large-scale hydrogen every day. So that is happening. So I cannot really tell what will happen when we start to do that. But we see the need of starting early to get the new knowledge out there. And for the moment, we are also studying here at the university a pipeline, a 1,000 kilometers pipeline around the Bothnia Bay, going from Finland over to Sweden, where we have the big players that follow this value chain, the producers and those who will need it, all the way up to Kiruna, where Stefan is based, and so on. And so there will be a lot of things that will happen. And the key thing is to understand the new business models that this will create. You need to know how to make business as a small company and a big company when this new opportunity comes into the picture.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that. And I think that the other thing too, it's going to be an interesting point when we talked about the connected factory in earlier sessions, and we look at the Industry 5.0 and manufacturing closer. Energy is also going to fall into that sort of category. So Stefan, you're looking at creating your own energy. Do you see that manufacturers will pivot to being more self-sufficient and producing their own energy locally? Or do you see like yourself as doing that and then also selling that excess to others? How do you sort of see that going forward?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we are going to produce energy ourselves, but for that we need energy, electricity. So, but if you look at also the value chain, and we are, it can be so, you can say that we take responsible for more parts of our value chain. Instead of buying coal and oil from far distances, we actually use the assets that is very regional, or in the at least at the, yeah, it can be also very close to us, where we have the wind power and the hydropower and so on. We use that instead of using coal and oil, and then we see that for us we can't use it directly in the process, so we need to go to hydrogen. So that then we do that. So and it's quite interesting because it's almost the same if you look where the steel industry is today. The most blast furnaces are in region where you have access to coal, and they are now, so to say, that's an old technology that will in some time be replaced, and the replacement has started with direct reduction. And why? That is also a good thing, that then you put the process where you have access to the energy you need. And here we have that access, and we also have very close to actually the iron ore. It's in the same region, so it's a win-win situation, so to say. And then, so yeah, it's shortened, and we take more responsibility, and then we also take another step in the value chain to actually be able to decarbonize efficient our value chain. So we take another step in our value chain. So, and that is something I believe that a lot of company needs to figure out. How can we decarbonize? We can't maybe just make the transition with just looking on what we are doing today. We maybe have to see, okay, find a solution to it. Might be that you need to stretch your value chain and do more than you do today, and also find new businesses, like we also are doing with using our waste material. Be more circular also. So I think more responsibility from the company, and you can find a business.
I agree.
It's interesting. Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I totally agree what you said, Stefan. And circular economy is really in focus as well nowadays. As you said, using things that was seen as waste is now an asset. And you have a good example at LKAB. So that is a lot in focus here at LTU for the moment. And for being able to do that, you need a lot of IT, because it's all about data, knowing where you are and where you're going, and you should be able to show the fact that you're actually, for example, using green steel in your products, and you can prove it. And for that, you need other kinds of technologies to do it. And you mentioned coal mines. Same thing happened during the data center era here 10 years ago. They moved the big data centers to the north, close to the energy source. And one question we asked at that time, which not all still don't understand, because you take for granted that energy is some 2 holes in the wall, maybe it's 3 holes in the wall somewhere else. But if you send electrons over a distance, let's say 1,000 kilometers, you will lose 10 to 15%. It just disappears in the air. But if you then send photons in fibers 1,000 kilometers, you have something else at the other end. So place your production smartly, meaning that you should you do the computing close to the energy source, whatever it is, and send the results, the information via fibers to where you need it. That could be another way of being more smart, more efficient regarding energy and so on. Just a reflection from other similar branches that have been going through the same transition as we now see regarding hydrogen and other energy sources.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And you pointed out a couple of different parallels, the telecom industry, the data center industry. That's one thing we're pulling on. So Robert, in pulling all this data together, you've got IoT data, you've got IoT data that's being used for asset management, much like it always has. How's my asset performing? You know, where's it going? But you're now having to use that for sustainability and even in some cases new energy supply figures. Like how does that data figure into your new environments?
Yeah, as I say, this is not a journey that you do yourself. I usually use this example when I talk that you have LKAB, then it goes to SSAB, it's transported and goes into some kind of factory that, let's say, make a fork called Ivar that's sold at IKEA. So in between those companies, in the companies, they have to be able to track the data. They have to be able to prove they are green. If they can't prove they are green, it's good for the environment, but it's not good to the price. You can't get premium price if you can't prove that you're green. You can't get lower taxes if you can't prove that you're green. And then you have to connect the whole supply chain, having some kind of green handshake saying that this is what I give you. This is the green steel or green sponge that LKAB will deliver to SSAB and so forth. So that's what needs to be built up, and currently there is nothing called a finished solution for that one. So that's essential, having a data aspect all the way from, in LKAB's case, from prospecting the kind of minerals they want to excavate to the final product in the end, in the hand of every user. So I think that's I call it the green handshake that needs to be developed, and I think it's going to be developed by the customer, by the companies that build the ecosystems. By this, they will set the standard because they need to.
Yeah, I think so. Just to remind people, they can put any questions in the chat. We do have some here. I'll migrate to it in a second. And I think it's an interesting thing that Stefan mentioned too earlier about getting the finance. We know that my counterpart in the banking industry, the finance industry is analyzing people's investments. Are you truly moving towards sustainability? And I will, in some cases in the US, they've actually fired some clients and said, you're not green enough for my portfolio. So really just open up to one of the questions that came in and put this one to Stefan. So how do you feel that, you know, proving from a financial standpoint, that might not be your exact area, but proving that your investments are moving forward is a key thing that you can support?
Yeah, proving that our investment is moving forward.
Yeah, that you're getting the benefits. I think the question is about your sustainability goals are being met and reporting to those.
Yeah. What we have seen is that we can start from the beginning. Actually, we were actually doing a carbon footprint report already 2015 on our products, and we are also then we started to interview our customer around the need for actually labeling or if they really needed a carbon footprint from us, and then it was it was good, but it wasn't desired. But then we asked our customers, car industry and others, and they said, well, this is really interesting. If you can label, and we can have standardization of labeling to prove that we have the carbon dioxide free or fossil free steel and so on, low carbon steel, and it had taken say several years now before it has exploded with you see that you need this. Also the European Commission says that you need the labeling, and also from finances part, you banks and and funding institutes, they want to have the labeling in place. But unfortunately, there is no good labeling. There is something called taxonomy for branches and so on. But it's hard today to label your product to get some extra for that product, because I think the industry here is going ahead. And as Robert said, it might be so that we need to create this before we have before actually the policymakers decide on anything. Hopefully we come now and really put the labels there so we can use it. But it's tough to follow and trace all the steps in the value chain. You don't have that today.
Yeah, I agree. From the research point of view, I could add, I mean, if you want to follow and be sure that nobody can change the data, you have, Robert notes this, blockchain technology today. It will not solve everything, but it's a way of kind of secure and guarantee that the data I got from somebody and I do my part and send it to that it's not changed somehow. And I also can add, oh, there is an echo. Anyway, now it's disappeared. We have one of the researchers here at LTU who's actually looking into his idea, and he has proved it, creating a fingerprint. You use a laser to put the light on a metal sheet, and that creates a fingerprint. So you actually know that this metal, this sheet of metal, is made of green steel, for example. And then you know that by creating these fingerprints. So that is some of the research I looked into this. Mikael Sjödahl, his name is, here at LTU some years ago. It's not the standard yet, so far what I know, but what you're mentioning, we need standard that everybody agrees on and trust to be able to actually say we are doing the right things in all steps in the value chain.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. We have one of our companies that predominantly produces electricity, and they're in the process of trying to get all of the figures and stuff to prove that their electron is greener than somebody else's electron, so that your steel therefore is greener than somebody else's steel, therefore that car is greener, or that toaster or whatever was made from it. Michael, building upon this conversation and to another question about human resources and talent, because we're all facing, every industry this year when we did our survey said they're facing a talent problem. Certainly going to people like us to round things out is a thing, but how are you sort of gearing up your students to be really future employees of Stefan, for example?
Yeah, that is the new thing. Well, I start also from the beginning. To put in a new program or a lot of new courses at university is not that easy as it sounds. It takes some time to do that, and it often means that you have to kick out something else, which is not often popular. But anyway, we have seen a lot of interest among the students to go to work and study and understand more about this green transition. We had a meeting one of these nights a month ago, attracted 150 students who came to listen to our new research areas. Chess that I mentioned is one, another is creativity, ACE, and so on. All about this is energy in the background, but different ways of creating circular economy and become more energy and resource efficient. So what we're doing, we are kind of coaching and guiding our students to existing courses where we really highlight and try to put in, for example, more about hydrogen, since this is a huge need now coming. To point them in the right direction. What if you want to go this direction, please go study these courses and so on. Meanwhile, we are of course trying to build a program and other courses. But as I said, this takes time. It doesn't happen from one night to another. So in that sense, we are doing what we can. In parallel, for those who have left university, very good with what they're doing. But let's say in the middle of the life, and you cannot leave going back to school or university, we are creating MOOCs, massive open online courses, which is popular. Every university do this today. So you can study on a distance. But this also takes some time to produce them and with high quality and so on. But this is what we're focusing on, you bet.
Yeah, no, I totally see where that's going. And, we're hiring people from universities and bring them into mentor programs and a bunch of different things. And it's very interesting and pairing them up. We talked about this yesterday in our prep about pairing some retired people up with some new students, because when the retired people come back to work, they don't care about their boss's opinion so much. So they're liable to speak the truth. So it's an interesting thing.
Just want to add one thing. Something similar happened. My good example is the data center here. When that boomed 10 years ago, the situation was the same. There were no data center technicians out there because there were no courses called data centers or engineering educations called that. So what did the data center companies do? Well, they looked to the closest area of technicians which they could train. So a lot of aircraft technicians are now data center technicians because they work with the same things. A lot of cables, a lot of electronics, and so on. And then just add a little bit about data center. You have good data center technicians. But in the long run, that created a hole on the market for aircraft technicians since there were no courses for data center and so on. So this happens all the time to solve a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So we just have a few minutes left. Maybe go around and just leave everybody with maybe some parting shots. Start again with you, Stefan, and then we'll maybe go to Robert and let you, Michael, have the last word there. So Stefan, anything that you'd like to leave the audience with? What should they do Monday when they go into the office? What action should they take? Thoughts you want to leave them with?
Yes, it depends where you are. If you have started a transition, speed up. If you haven't started, it's time to start. And because what you need, my message is that it's not only because of the climate. Climate is a driving force, but it also the large part is business. There is a huge business opportunity for the company and for yourself also, and for your own well-being, to actually start now. Look into what you can do with what you have, and if you don't have it, can you get it, and start to be climate neutral. So that was my message. No time to lose.
Yeah, it actually ties into one of the other questions we had is, if I haven't started, am I too late? So I think it fits in nicely. Michael, did you want to go next, actually, since you came up, Mike?
Yeah, I can do that. What I've learned so far from what all the other areas I've been working with from the university is, if you tell people, they will listen for sure. But if you show people, they will see. But if you involve people, they will understand. So that it's a lot about people and behavior and the will to change. So what I would suggest on Monday morning, an exercise to do there for all companies who are thinking, how can I fit into this green transition that is happening, is actually start to get some facts to know where you are. And as an engineer, I like to define the things I do in different steps. So I used to say pre, under, and after, meaning that pre, that is before. Look at what energy do you bring into the company, to your industry facility. Is it green, or where does it come from? Because you can change that if you want. Under, then I mean, how do you do the manufacturing inside your company? What are you doing? Are you doing it in the most efficient, resource-efficient energy and resource-efficient way? Can I change it? Can I do it somewhere else, something else, so to say, to be more efficient? And after, then I mean, this product that you have produced or service, is it energy efficient enough? Will the customer use it in a way that is energy efficient? Meaning that, can you improve it? Kind of 3 different steps there. If you know that, then you have a starting point to start to change in some way, because you know where you are and where you're going. So one of the mottos or visions we have in Chess, for example, is that regarding hydrogen, the smallest molecule but with the largest potential at the moment here in the north. That's me.
I like that saying because it's true. Robert, you get the last word today.
Yep. The biggest thing you can do is to inspire people. And this change is a journey of people to people. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, start inspiring people to train, to learn, to change, to be a part of the journey.
That's words to live by in all of these different transitions. So with that, I don't see any further questions coming in. So I'd like to thank you all very much. I know this was a lot of prep and appreciated all of your input. I know you have busy things going on in your life events and other things going on, and making time for this was greatly appreciated, and great respect for all of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and remember, this is available for 30 days to look at and spread. So that's how it will be used, but not without your consent, of course. Okay.
Thank you.
Have fun. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Paula.